What's good, y'all? Dr.Trehunna. So we was all taught that cancer is a genetic disease, which means what? You can do everything right, but when it's all said and done, if cancer's in your family tree, once your time comes, you're gonna receive cancer, you're just gonna pass out and die. There's studies coming out that's showing that cancer is not really a genetic disease per se, but it's more of a lifestyle disease. So today, what we're gonna cover is what is the truth and what is actually fallacy, and what you can do to basically mitigate your chances of having cancer ever in life, even if it's in your family tree.
Hey guys,
My name's Michelle.
Anita, Sarah, Julia, Peyton, Talia,
Jazz. Marquita.
I'm a physique.
Product.
Period. You love to see.
What is cancer? Cancer is an abnormal division of cells, and these cells are not doing their job properly. All right. So not only are you having one thing that's going wrong, but you're having a multitude of things that's going wrong, because there's one cell divided through a process called mitosis to multiple cells, and these multiple cells are not doing their job. And if these cells are not doing their job, it's going to cause more inflammation in the body, and etc. It's going to cause a cascade of things to go wrong in the human body. Okay. The human body is ultimately just a machine. If one part of the machine is going wrong, you're going to see other parts of the machine going wrong as well. Just like if your starter in your car is not working, your car is not going to start. Just like if your transmission on the car is not working, it's not going to start. Same thing applies here. Where do cancer come from? A lot of people think cancer is just a ticking time bomb in the human body just waiting for it to appear. That's not the case. There is a professor by the name of Thomas Seyfried, and his hypothesis is that cancer is not a genetic disease. It's the fact that our environment and the choices that we do day to day causes the cancer and the genes to be expressed. And once the genes are expressed, and then now the cancer is finally able to come out and start to show its ugly head. You see what I'm saying? The thing that makes cancer cancerous is the fact that majority of these cells being produced or proliferated is dysfunctional. They're not doing their proper job, right? They're basically in the way, they're not doing nothing. This abnormal growth of cells is going to cause a cascade of events in the human body, because your body's going to basically fight against these cells. And one of the main things that cause your human body to work is kind of dysfunctional, your whole entire system is technically going to collapse, all right? Same thing happens with cancer. You can have some cancer in your prostate or cancer in your brain. That's called glioblastoma. If that happens, it's going to mess up everything in your body. That's why it is imperative for you to go ahead and put the fire out when it comes to cancer as soon as possible. That's why majority of Western medicine, they're going to go straight to what? They're going to go straight to chemotherapy. We're going to go ahead and shower this cancer with poison, and hopefully it dies. That's what chemotherapy is. Cancer is basically a mitochondrial disease. A damaged mitochondria is going to cause cancer. Why? So a mitochondria basically has certain type of functions, right? And it also got structures in it that determines the function. Keep in mind that structure determines functionality. Everything happens for a reason. So if the structure is kind of compromised, then that means the whole entire cell is going to be compromised in this sense. All right. Just like if the transmission is compromised, your car's not going to go. But a cell can still kind of try to move, or it's just going to cause more damage, or it's just going to overall do more harm than good. So what happens is when you're just living life and you're doing a lot of things that might be carcinogenic, such as you smoking some hookah here and there, you're getting some secondhand smoke, you eating a whole lot of fried foods, you eating a whole lot of processed foods, it's going to cause some damage to the human body just time and time again, right? That's what we got antioxidants for. It's going to basically counteract the oxidative stress that you're putting on the human body. So long story short, antioxidants is basically counteract oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is basically things that damage or cause damage to the cells. All right. But within the cell, there's the mitochondria, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse to every single cell. So if your cell is not receiving any energy from the powerhouse, there's going to be issues everywhere in totality of the whole entire cell. So if this one cell got issues and this cell proliferates, then that means there's going to be a lot of issues happening inside the human body. All right. So what Thomas Seyfried is basically stating that once your cell continue to kind of get damaged, it's going to literally spit out something called ROS. These are reactive oxygen species. Now, these reactive oxygen species basically cause damage inside the mitochondria, right? But if it continues, it's going to overall mess up the functionality of the mitochondria in the first place. Now, here's the main reason why his hypothesis may be correct. in order for a cell to produce energy, it goes through a process called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. In order for your cell to create ATP, it does it through this process called cellular respiration or oxidative phosphorylation. All right. But if your body's not able to create energy from OXPHOS, which is oxidative phosphorylation, then your cell basically is supposed to kill itself off. Here's the problem. A cancerous cell is not killing itself off. It is still basically staying in the mix. And if it's staying in the mix, not doing its job properly, it's going to affect everything else. So usually what happens is when a cell is dysfunctional, it's got its own type of kill switch. So it's called apoptosis. So when a cell is basically not doing its job right, and it notices that, hey, I'm basically not holding my weight for the team, I'm going to kill myself off. That's called apoptosis, or any type of cell death is called necrosis. When it comes to a cancerous cell, something happened inside the mitochondria of the cell where the kill switch is now inactivated. And now this cell that's supposed to kill itself off is actually trying to still survive. And our mitochondria is old and it is ancient, okay? Believe it or not, humans, if we didn't have mitochondria, we would not be living today, all right? So for generation to generation, from years to years, we basically co-evolved with a species called mitochondria. And what happens when your mitochondria is damaged, it used to get its energy from something called substrate level phosphorylation, which is what? It's not using oxygen. It's without oxygen. Here's why that's the problem. Your heart cells needs oxygen. Your brain needs oxygen. Our body grew and our cells basically grew to utilize this one source of energy. Your body can produce some form of energy without oxygen. Byproduct of it is lactate. That's why you notice when you're lifting weights and you're lifting some heavy weights and it's hard, and after a couple reps, it starts to burn a little bit. That's your body trying to keep up with the demands that you're giving to it, and that is going to ultimately produce lactic acid. But here's the thing. Majority of cancerous cells, they're basically thriving off lactic acid. So if they're thriving off lactic acid, that means they're getting the energy from somewhere else, which is not from oxygen. That is the issue within itself. It's going to damage the nuclear genome. It's going to damage the lipids and the proteins. So now the cell is dysfunctional. All of these things stem from the reactive oxygen species being spit out by the mitochondria of the actual cell. That's what causes cancer. The actual damage to the cell coming from hypoxia, inflammation, carcinogens, ischemia, aging, etc. Human body is way more resilient than you think, right? But it just takes years for you to start experiencing the symptoms. So 9 times out of 10, when somebody has been diagnosed with cancer, they probably had cancer for a good amount of time. They're just finding about it today. If your environment basically doesn't promote you to have cancer, you won't. But believe it or not, you're more in control than you think when it comes to cancer. It might be in your family tree, but at the end of the day, these are genetics. Now, your genetics can ultimately steer you in a direction, but at the end of the day, it's all on you to go ahead and make these little decisions day in, day out to make these genes to become expressed. Because at the end of the day, if your cancerous genes are not being expressed, you won't have cancer. All right? Hopefully y'all learned something today. That's your reset tip of the day. That's going to help you stay snatched all the time. Know that summertime. Talk to you soon.